Maria Caulfield is the Conservative MP for Lewes and joins me now to discuss this. Morning to you, Maria.
Good morning.
Morning there. Well, look, thanks for your time. I suppose there's almost a kind of romantic view of these travel cards, as for many, it's a cheap day out with the family up to London for a sort of day of fun. But for others, getting serious about it, it's also a cheap way to get into the capital for work from many different parts of Sussex.
No, absolutely, and there are lots of people, who commute from Sussex up to London. The train links are good, and for people who are, just working maybe 1 or 2 days, you heard from that lady in your report, going into work. The travel card now is an essential feature, and if you get a travel card zones 1 to 4, that's an extra £15.20 if you buy it separately. So, these are not small sums that will be added to people's weekly travel costs, and that's on top of the ULEZ charge, which, you would think that TfL and the Mayor for London would be, if he's going to charge people £12.50 a day to travel into the city, that he would then make rail fares actually cheaper, not more expensive. So whichever way you want to travel into London, whether it's for work, whether it's for the theatre or fun, or a day out, or to see family and friends, you're going to be charged more by the Mayor of London for doing so.
Would it be exaggerating the point to sort of put this to you to say that the people are almost being priced out of travelling to London now?
Well, it's expensive anyway. I commute to London most days, and I commuted to London before when I was a nurse. I worked in London. I used to get the train from Lewes there, and fares have gone up significantly, and that's on top of all the other cost of living pressures that people are facing with fuel bills and food prices. And we want to encourage people to use public transport. The government's already subsidising the railways by thousands of pounds for each household across the country, because figures have never recovered post-COVID. There was still about 40% down on normal passenger numbers, and the government's having to subsidise the difference. So, to then add this extra price burden onto rail passengers, people will just vote with their feet and they just won't travel. And people have the option now of working from home, and they're more likely to do that if it's going to cost them a fortune just simply to go to work.
I mean, this is effectively a subsidised means of travel. So is there an argument to say, Maria, that if TfL simply can't afford it anymore, then that's it, they can't afford it, and people have to pay what is the going fare at other times of day?
Well, I think the taxpayer feels particularly aggrieved because, the government's already subsidised TfL, Transport for London, by £6 billion since 2020. They've still got £1 billion gap that they're trying to plug. And this is simply just mismanagement. You look at, and I'm not criticising TfL workers at all, but some of the benefit packages they get, for some of them, compared to other rail workers, they get free travel on TfL. Two family members get travel for TfL. There's lots of perks and benefits that you would not get in the rest of the railway network. And TfL could have done a lot more to cut costs than simply passing on the cost to customers. And it's not just residents in London who are affected. It's residents in the Lewes constituency who get the train from, say, Lewes or Polegate or Seaford, that absolutely have to get to work or have to go and see family and friends, or want to go out for an evening to the theatre. This is really impacting on people's lives, and when we should be encouraging people to use public transport, it feels we're pricing people out of being able to use it.
Well, you kind of hinted at what I wanted to be my next point, and that's the leisure aspect of this. I mean, I've said already this morning, Maria, that certainly when my children were younger, the one-day travel card, taking 3 children up to London and a couple of adults as well, it made it doable when, as a young parent, you don't necessarily have so much money in your back pocket to spend. So there's going to be a lot of parents and people on low incomes potentially affected by this.
Yeah, and it goes completely against what the government's doing on public transport otherwise. So the government's extended yet again the £2 bus fare because that's been so popular. People feel that that's affordable to be able to travel by bus for £2, and it was going to end in June. We've extended it to October now. And all the other schemes that we've introduced to try and make rail fares more affordable. We've introduced and extended a young person's travel scheme. scheme as well and introduced, veterans travel cards to try and make rail travel as extensive as possible. On the Seaford line, for example, we've just rolling out the new carriages, so they actually have toilets on the carriages from this week, and nicer carriages compared to the rest of the network. They were always the poor relation on the Seaford branch line. So we are trying to make rail journeys more attractive. If you look at the work, say, the Friends of Bishopstone are doing at Bishopstone Station to brighten that station up and encourage passengers to use it, and just to then hit people with such a high cost, £15.20 for a Zone 1 to 4 travel card on top of your return journey from Lewes or Seaford or Polegate. That's a huge cost to people, and they just won't be able to afford it.
Well, let's stick with the issue of sort of finances and funding for a moment longer, because a spokesperson for the Mayor of London has told this programme that if the government were able to provide additional funding, TfL would be able to drop the proposal to end day travel cards immediately. So given your concern, is that something you think the government could do?
Well, the government, as I've said, has already given TfL and the Mayor of London £6 billion specifically for the Transport for London network. And despite that, they've still got £1 billion black hole. And it is about being accountable for how you manage your money. That's taxpayers' money at the end of the day. It's not government money. So whichever way we look at it, whether it's because they put up the fares for the travel cards, or whether it's the government subsidising their financial risk management, the taxpayer is paying for it. And there has to be some accountability there. In any other walk of life, you would have to manage your accounts better. And we do feel the Mayor of London needs to owe it to residents in London, but also residents who help the London economy. That's residents in Sussex by going to work, by going to use the theatre, by going to meet family and friends. They're all contributing to the London economy, and he has a duty to make sure that that's not costing them a fortune to do so.
Well, Maria Caulfield, Conservative MP for Lewes, thanks for joining us on BBC Radio Sussex this morning.